How do you start these?
You know, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what you're really supposed to do, but we're just going to do it. Hi, TJ.
Hey.
What's up?
I meant to wear my hat.
Well, you know what's the best thing about a podcast is? It's an audio medium.
Yeah. I want you
You're
all...
wearing a beautiful hat.
For the listeners at home, I want you to envision me wearing the most beautiful Drew Carey Show vintage hat.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it was from like a production.
Yeah, like a promotional hat.
Yeah.
On my head.
Yeah. Looks like you got it if you worked on season 1 of this show.
Yes. Yeah. That would rule. 1995, season 1 of this show.
Yeah.
What a time in this country, 1995.
You weren't alive. I was. Well, we can get into it. I was. Well, first of all, it's the Drew Carey Show. That's what we're going to be talking about, I guess. We decided to torture ourselves. That's not torture.
No, we're going to be talking about the Drew Carey Show.
Yeah.
A little bit, guys. You're going to want to listen in.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
There's 9 seasons.
People don't realize this. It's like So it started 2 days before I was born. September 13th, 1995 was episode 1. I looked it up. They had 233 episodes. And it ran for 9 seasons. It ran for almost as long as Friends.
Yeah, and it ran on ABC. You never hear... What are the other great ABC
It's Drew Carey
sitcoms?
And it's Quinta Brunson. And I don't think anything else happened in between. I'm pretty sure it was just a bunch of cop procedural dramas in between.
Yeah.
So
I literally know. I don't even know what they air on their programming now. What does ABC put on TV? What does they ever put on?
It's some true crime shit, right?
Okay. Like are they the Chicago network or no?
No, that's NBC. But ABC does like the 2020, like the real like. She put eye drops in his mouth and he was found dead 3 days later. Like I think that's sort of vibe. Yeah. So and like news.
I guess they're technically the news leaders. We're not going to talk shop about news that much, but I guess technically they're the primetime news leaders, ABC. But I'm always like, who the hell is talking about ABC News?
Well, and they've got America's Funniest Home Videos. We should
with Carlton now.
Yeah, Carlton's doing.
But rest in peace, Tom Bergeron. He's really the GOAT. Yeah. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah. He's also not dead, but yes. Yeah. He's dead to me.
Dead to me.
If you lose your job hosting Dancing with the Stars, girlfriend, you're dead to me. But yeah, we decided, I guess, well, and to explain, I guess, you turned me on to Drew Carey's stand-up in, I guess, towards the end of college.
Yeah, I think Drew Carey is one of the most underappreciated just comics. Because now, and especially younger people, they're going to, they see Drew Carey, he's just the father figure. He's a guy hosting The Price is Right. And I think, some of us remember when he got that job, whatever, and we didn't even think much of him before that.
He's the host from Whose Line. He's the guy that wouldn't do improv. Yeah. Whose Line. Yeah.
But, exactly. I knew him as a kid as the host of Whose Line. And then I forget, at one point I YouTubed him. And I watched in November of 1991, he did his first appearance on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. And he murdered. I mean, he might have had the best stand-up, first-time stand-up performance I think I've ever watched. I mean, granted, it almost sounds as though he brought his whole family from Cleveland
just straight on
to Los Angeles. So people would laugh, but my God, the audience just eats it up. And he's funny. He murders. And so whenever, and I didn't really think much of this show. Actually, the only thing I ever remembered about this show as a kid was Mimi.
Mm-hmm. She becomes a meme. I remember it too. I don't remember watching any of this growing up because I think when it ended, we were like 9. Not to age any of the people that worked on this show, but we were 9 years old. I don't remember.
All the people that worked on this show that are now listening to this pod.
Absolutely. But I felt, when you explained his stand-up to me, and then you realize he had a whole shelf life with this sitcom before, and I guess it bleeds into Whose Line, it bleeds into eventually Price is Right, but he was a guy for Warner Brothers. This is a Warner Brothers show, I believe, and it's just it's insane. Just when you look at like the scope of it, and then when you look like, and we're not even there yet. This is just maybe going to cover episodes 1 and 2. But when you look at like further down, like how absurdist it gets, how kind of like meta it gets at some points, where they have like a Daffy Duck episode.
Oh, I didn't even look ahead. I didn't look ahead like that.
Dude,
Whoa!
If you look at the Wikipedia, it's kind of nuts. They get some crazy shit. Spoiler, but for a show that ended 20 years ago almost.
Fascinating, because I mean, first impressions here, you know, like we said, it started in 1995, ABC, 1995, America, whatever. You think about the sitcoms of the 90s, most notably the one that most people would talk about, Seinfeld. This, and how people are like, this show is, you know, Seinfeld was so New York. It might be the most New York television show ever created.
Right.
This is similarly, it has this regional charm, and it's for the Midwest. And I mean, I absolutely love it. And then on top of that, you have Drew Carey as this leading man that they really like, you know, in the vein of Seinfeld. It was just like, give this stand-up a show and let him have, like, he's just doing bits, rattling off jokes here and there.
It's actually surprising how many bits I feel like transferred into the sitcom kind of seamlessly.
Yeah.
Especially in the first episode,
Oh my God. There was, I mean, we could get into this. There's a whole, like, it's like the second scene, and he just goes off about drunk driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a drive-through liquor store. And then he just does, I want to say, like 2 minutes from his set.
It literally started. He's like, I got places to go for that. What was it? He's like, for that drunk driver on the go, I got places to go, people to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I guess overarching to start, the pilot. Drew Carey is an everyman Ohio guy. We're in Cleveland. Everything is beige for some reason. I get the feeling like it's just, you know, we've got a bar.
That is that part of the country.
I wrote this down. His title is Assistant Director of Personnel for a department store.
I also read that down.
Yeah, I found it very funny because also he acknowledges how meaningless it is.
Yeah, what, like a middling nothing job.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, he's at a bar a lot with he's got a group of friends that become essentially our main cast here. It's Lewis, who I would describe as weird guy, played by Ryan Stiles.
I'm glad you wrote down the... I'm so bad. I meant to do this. I looked it up
because some of them, I don't know if I'm going to say it right. And again, when they listen to this, because we know they're listening.
Yeah.
I apologize. So, Lewis, weird guy. I wrote Oswald, dumb guy, but I think also horny guy is how I would describe Oswald, because he's just constantly like...
multifaceted guy.
Yeah, he has range. Diedrich Bader. I don't really know what else Diedrich Bader has done. His Wikipedia does have things, but
he looks.
This is the first credit on his Wikipedia. The most notably known.
He looks like a fresh face. That would make sense. But he's also like vaguely familiar for some reason, and I'm not sure. Am I really just remembering him from this? I didn't watch that much of this show before.
He looks like another actor that I can't recall.
Wait. Shit, no. Okay, he's in, there's a movie where he plays a guy with long, it's Office Space. He's in Office Space. He plays the long-haired, I think it's the neighbor.
Okay.
That, God, I don't remember the quotes he has particularly on Office Space. Yeah. This is the one part that I remember him from.
That's I feel like Diedrich Bader really is hanging off being the person that you don't remember from Office Space, and then this sitcom that nobody talks about anymore. And then to round it out, you've got Kate, who I just wrote down. Her characteristic is just girl, I think is kind of fair.
So far, it's just girl.
So far, these first 2 episodes, she's just girl. Krista Miller is the actress's name. I described them as weird little Midwestern Polycule. That's how I would describe this group. They're all kind of touchy. I don't think they're fucking... But
they could be. They might have.
I don't want to jump it, but there is a scene at the end of the pilot where they're all sniffing her.
Yeah.
And it's so weird.
And Drew goes in for a little smooch.
Yeah, Drew's trying to be like, oh, what's going on? She sticks out her arms, and he goes, what's going on in the middle? And you're like, whoa. It's just...
But granted, this was a time in America where you could be horny towards your one female friend, and it wouldn't... Yeah. It wouldn't get out there.
It could be 3-on-1. Yeah. And it was 95. We were going hog wild.
Yeah.
So that's like, that is the round out cast. And we get, the first glimpse we see of Kate is she's just gotten laid off because her boss was also the guy she was sleeping with, and she left him because he has a small penis.
Yeah, that's one. I wrote that down. Just the quote, "Size does matter," and I was like, "Oh wow, that was within the first 3 minutes of the Drew Carey Show."
Yeah, within the first minute, I do. And again, times have changed. We do have a really interesting conversation about finding men attractive at the bar. I don't know if you remember that. A minute in, they're like, "So let's say you're in prison," and I'm like, "Whoa." Well, it's showing its age.
Yeah, well, no, but they're talking about Brad Pitt, who I guess is he the 1995 America's
Man Alive?
Yeah,
something like that.
Some heartthrob, and they're talking about, and then wait, they asked the Oswald, the weird horny guy, if he was in prison, who would he be with, and he was who would he want to be his cellmate, and he said Liam Neeson, who I was like. I don't know what Liam Neeson looked like in 1995. I just couldn't help but think of old-ass Liam Neeson. It was like weird, but fine.
Having phone
sex
with taken Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I have a very specific set of skills. But yeah, the pilot essentially just does what a pilot should do. Introduces you to this very bland world where everybody is just...
But I love it, though.
It's nice.
It's so, like I said, that regional charm... The intro song for the first few seasons.
Right, the first two, I believe.
Yeah, Moon Over Parma. It's this random, I had looked it up. I was like, what is it? Because it has like kind of a crooner sound to it, like Rat Pack. And I was like, is this like a Sinatra song? No, it was like some regional variety hour in the Cleveland area. Parma is like a suburb outside of the Cleveland metro area. And this particular guy was from it. So anyway, very specific regional pool, and they have Drew sing his own. I loved
his own version of it. He adapts it too, right? Yeah,
he changes one of the lyrics from East Lake to Cleveland. I guess East Lake, for all you Cleveland heads, is another fucking dumb bullshit
all you
suburb.
Cleveland heads out there.
And so I appreciated that. I also appreciated just how hard it reps Cleveland. I mean, every shot so far, Drew's Cavs shirt, brown shirt, Indians, and like it's still even in the 90s. Like this is in a time when Cleveland sports have never been good. So it's very charming to see this just like put upon every man. Also repping his awful sports teams in this lousy suburb, and it's excellent. Yeah,
it's really kind of nice. It does own itself. I read an article, a retrospective on the Drew Carey Show that The Ringer put out in 2016. They did not like it. We should also explain, because The Ringer points this out, that nobody talks about this show because it's very hard to watch. It's not streamable. You can buy the first season on like Apple, Amazon, all that stuff. We, of course, got this only through legal means. We're not at all doing anything illegal by watching this show. Whereas I think other sitcoms from the 90s have aged, like Seinfeld, you can stream, obviously. It's on cable TV every fucking day. Friends, the same thing. This one, they call it nostalgia proof, and I feel like it kind of has proven, like, again, that's kind of why we wanted to do this. Nobody fucking talks about this show.
Well, it is one thing. Do you think it's a little like they're clearly trying, for what it's worth, to push the edge in the 90s?
Sure.
I mean, they talk about having sex with a man within the first intro. The whole thing's about sexual harassment. Then for the rest of the episode, whether or not
that's the second episode too, which we'll get.
Oh yeah! Wow. No, that really is the general theme.
Yeah.
Is Drew also horny?
The general theme is, can you fucking work?
Yeah.
Is that okay? So far?
Yeah. And in the 90s, the answer seems to be yes, but just don't talk about it.
It's very gray. It's a gray area in the 90s, it seems. And maybe that's not the answer now. But yeah, anyway, going back to this pilot. So we set up the world, we set up the characters, and then we set up the first initial conflict, which is Kate needs a job because she's been kicked out and fired by her small penis boss. Drew is looking to hire somebody at the department store for
cosmetics.
It's a cosmetic job, right? So and this is where we get introduced to Mimi. Mimi Man, I look, I read a lot of also, like, looking back on, like, oh, it's unfair how they wrote Mimi. Maybe. She's also, like, a bitter, cold person.
She's an
awful person.
They make her completely unlikable.
Yeah.
From the get-go,
yeah.
There wasn't even an egregious misstep by Drew. I felt like before she was like,
right,
you're a piece of shit.
Well, so she comes in, right, for this interview for the cosmetics job. And she's dressed like a fucking clown. Like, she looked like, you know, it's that overarching sort of blue eyeshadow and goddamn, like, rainbow jumpsuit or whatever that she comes in wearing. And it goes poorly, right, for him. And then she ends up basically Me Tooing him in 1995.
Yeah.
And being like, the only reason I didn't get this job is because you are a sexist pig. And I was like, okay, damn, this is...
Screaming it in Drew's little cubicle in the middle of the office.
God, I love the cubicles.
It kind of made me want to work in, like, a little... like a cubicle made out of plywood and you know. Can we talk about The Office a little bit?
Sure.
I love the carpool. I love that this is in an era where era where people actually carpooled and mattered, whatever. And so Drew, I guess he's living in a suburb of Cleveland, and there's an incentive by work for him to ride in the company carpool, and nobody likes Drew in the carpool. I mean, Drew's just trying to talk. To be fair, just trying to have a conversation.
I was going to say, to be fair, I don't think anybody likes anybody in that carpool.
Yeah, I don't know. And it kind of made me think, are carpools really that bad? No, you never hear of people carpool. I guess you carpool with your friends now here these days. If you have to. I don't. Right. We don't carpool.
I think it's a very, if not Midwest, like middle country sort of thing. I think two assholes in Manhattan don't ever have to think about a carpool. But, you know, I don't know. Our carpool's actually terrible. I've never been in one.
But they make it out to be just the most dreadful experience. The best conversation they had in the carpool was when somebody was like, my aunt had a funeral or something. They talked about the funeral, and it was like, oh, the food's always good at a funeral. Everyone starts talking about a funeral. It was pretty good. But so he's carpooling to work with these miserable people, and then he goes and works in these tiny, cramped cubicles. No one seems to his boss doesn't, although his relationship with his boss, I can't tell what it is.
Right.
Yet.
We're jumping the gun on the end of this. You want to talk about horny? I think the boss is also very horny. I think just...
Well, it was the 90s.
Cleveland's just a bunch of drunk horny guys in 95.
That's
really all it is. Yeah, no, it creates definitely a definition of, like, the 9 to 5 hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They paint
perfectly
it very well.
Almost.
It's Roseanne-esque, which I found out in research. The co-creator of this show is also the co-creator of Roseanne. So...
Oh.
He's got a little trend of, like, middle class, can't get
really
ahead,
doing,
we're gonna grind.
Yeah, middle America.
Niche.
Well.
Yeah.
But anyway, not to hijack that. So yeah, Drew and interviews Mimi. She loses it on him.
Yeah. And then
calling him a sexist pig, storms out of the office.
Yeah.
Drew handling it still with bits. Mm-hmm. I appreciate he's still got his head in the game. He's like
he's ripping up her resume and he squints at it and says, "Oh, you speak Spanish." It's a very good line. Yeah. It's very good. This is where Kate comes in. Kate wants a job. Drew, again, this is where we see the first, is Drew actually a good employee, boss, manager, whatever? Should you hire a friend for a thing? I think if I was Drew, I would. She seems competent enough to work a makeup counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, she's... Also, given their relationship, there's like... I mean, I guess you talked loosely about like a sexual tension, but not really. They are just very like a weird kind of... I mean, they're just friends. They're just friends, and there's nothing hairy going on in that department. So I just was like, yeah, why not? Yeah, you can hire a friend. Yeah. I would hire.
It's a fucking department.
If I had a friend and they wanted to work where I would do that. Yeah. Absolutely.
It ain't NASA.
No.
Let Kate run the makeup store. Anyway, so this becomes the conflict, though, of can he hire her throughout the whole thing, and then we got the Mimi tension in the back of the whole thing. It becomes it's a woman-focused episode, mostly about 3 guys, but there's 2 women in the heart of this.
With 3 guys in almost every scene. I appreciate that they keep the. I mean, it is the pilot, but they keep the main 4 characters in pretty much every scene.
Totally. Which, now that we've just brought that up, I did want to point out, I think the series thesis, if I had to paint it out after watching 2 episodes, dudes rock.
Dudes
Dudes
rock.
fucking rock. That's the whole sort of thesis of this. Maybe that's why it hasn't aged well, I will admit. But, that being said, as a dude who likes to rock, dudes fucking rock.
I mean, it's... I've never... Like... It's a diluted dudes rock though, right? It's not like Barstool dudes rock, that kind of like what we think dudes rock is now. It's just Drew's got a fucking cooler in the kitchen and a pool table in the backyard.
I have it in bold and all caps. Pool table in the backyard.
I don't think you guys understand. A pool and they're not even shying away from the fact that that's totally impractical.
Covered in leaves,
and he's shooting pool in the backyard with his boys.
Yeah. I love it. He does it in the pouring rain at the end. He runs out in like a raincoat and a fucking hat and just starts shooting pool in a torrential downpour.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's truly dudes rock, the series.
Did you always, even like second scene, right? So they're establishing a bit more of the relationship between the friends and the pilot. They're just cleaning up an obnoxious amount of beer cans.
Yes. Yeah. Which, by the way...
They're grown-ass men. Does Drew live with anyone?
Right. So this is... I thought they are over... We only see his house. They are over his house so much, I thought they were all roommates. But no, there's a line about, like, I'm going to go to Oswald's house and burn it down after the end of this day. So they're just there. Like, they just hang out. We'll get in the second episode, one of them just borrows his car. Like, it's just, they don't fucking... Like, it's... I do love it. I guess Drew just owns this house. I don't know. I don't know what Cleveland home values were in the 90s, but...
It's a beautiful house.
It's a beautiful house.
And he had this disposable income to say, fuck it, we're putting a pool table in the backyard.
Yeah.
And, I just love, he gets home, any time of day, it seems they're just cracking open beers. At the end of the pilot, they're drinking hot chocolate together. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's kind of... low-key dudes rock move. If all your boys are just cool enough to sit around, make some hot cocoa.
It's maybe a positive masculinity.
Yes.
What's the Tony P line?
Tony P. For those of you that don't know, Tony P. is a 25-year-old bachelor living in D.C. He is all about vibrant masculinity. Mm-hmm. Shout out Tony P. You're a great guy. When you hear this,
it's a when you listen to this podcast,
when you get my Christmas card,
it's a vibrant masculinity dudes rock. That is a great way, I think, to describe it based on these first couple of eps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think what else. The central tension of the pilot is who's going to get this job, Mimi or Kate. And spoiler, it goes to Kate. After a lot of harassing on her end, I would say.
Yeah.
She just shows up at his office.
At this neighborhood bar, too, though.
Yeah, the Warsaw.
Yeah, the Warsaw Tavern. Mm-hmm. Mimi, the gang, the four of them are out having a drink the one night. And then Mimi, of course, rolls into town. Which also, I'm like, so Mimi lives in the suburb too, the same suburb. Is the Warsaw the only bar in town?
How big is Cleveland? We don't, you know what I mean?
It seems like a neighborhood,
right?
The way, which probably intentional, but I guess. I mean, look. To be fair, Cleveland seems like a desolate, awful place sometimes. I don't mean to be so disparaging.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
ain't Los Angeles.
No, it's not Los Angeles. But even like I'm from Pittsburgh, I have a regional bias towards hating everything about Cleveland.
Understood.
And I think I read an article one time about what makes Cleveland the worst city in the United States. And one of them was just like, there's nowhere to go. There's zero place. So even in the 90s, it seems nowhere to go. Yeah. Warsaw Tavern.
We're all going to drive to the
Everyone knows about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kate gets the job. That's really sort of all I had. I did have one
feel-good moment when Kate gets the job. I like a friend.
Drew has to let down a high school senior, I believe, who wants it. Which we don't see, but he's like, how she really was looking forward to having a resume or something.
Yeah, she had nothing.
But she gets the job, not only because Drew feels kind about it, but because his boss, Mr. Bell, I believe is his name.
Yes.
Absolutely horny for Kate.
Yeah.
Calls Drew and says, there's this dime in this fucking blue suit out there, and Drew has to take the call.
Carrie, don't fuck this up.
Yeah, literally something like that. It's wild. It's just wild how, your boss could sway it because you wore a nice little blue skirt. in the 90s. And then it ends with all of them drinking hot chocolate, and then they smell Kate, who's trying on perfume samples. So they all sniff her arm, like we were saying earlier, and it's a weird moment.
When's the last time you sniffed a friend? I feel like sniffing's an intimate gesture.
It is. And to do it with three
you can sniff me.
Platonic male friends, thank you. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to make it sound like...
No. Look,
if you ever want to whiff...
part of this podcast is going to be our sexual will they, won't they tension.
Yeah.
And I think it's establishing that in the first episode is really important. So, and then I guess there's one line that I really enjoyed, and we get a lot of like weird... Lewis lines in this first one. Ryan Stiles, underrated performance, I think, throughout this.
Yeah, we should like go through specific lines that we like. I think for every ep, because there's so many just lines that I've wrote down that I'm like, great one-off joke.
The one I had is he's explaining to them the Mimi drama. And he goes, she called me a sexist. Do you know how many lines or how many forms you have to fill out when someone calls you a sexist? And Lewis just goes, 8. Just 8. Yes. I love the specificity. I love that he knew that. 8. It paints a perfect picture of this weird man.
But we didn't even talk about what I think Oswald's a DJ and the Ryan Stiles character. What's his name again?
Lewis.
He's a maintenance man.
Correct.
At a chemical company.
But he really feels endeared to the chemical. He's like, one day we're going to cure cancer or something. And Drew goes, you're a maintenance man. It's a very funny moment to me. And he quotes the X-Files at some point, I think, in the pilot. Or maybe it's episode 2.
It's episode 1 right away. You get a snapshot of Hal.
Yeah.
He seems like a conspiracy guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he would be listening to InfoWars if he was around today. Don't ask him where he was on January 6th.
I think one of my favorite lines was like literally it had to be like the third scene or whatever. Whenever Kate's introduced and she's like, "Oh, you missed a great party last night. Do you know that if the Domino's guy doesn't come back in an hour, they call the police?" It's like that. It's like that's good.
It's a good bit. One more I just wanted to say because we started with Drew Carey adapted stand-up bits. The drive-through liquor store, like we said, absolutely. There's another one-off moment in this where they're at the Warsaw and Drew's about to take a bite of a cheeseburger and some old hag man just interrupts and goes, "Hey, if you eat that, you're gonna have a heart attack." And Drew immediately spits it out and does this whole long bit about, "Thank you. How does the government not know about this? I almost had one moment of joy. Thank you." Like it's just it seems almost like lifted again from his stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's back when I get maybe the 90s. Everyone was bashing health-conscious people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least in the Midwest, people don't tell a man whether or not he can eat. Because right before that, the old man has that line. He's like, meat.
just the concept of meat gets him happy. That's true. I can't tell. Obviously, Seinfeld did it in such a good way, but I'm thinking of other like stand-up sitcoms, and the first one that comes to mind is the John Mulaney sitcom that kind of tanked.
I never even watched it.
A lot of that, I only watched the first 2 episodes, and a lot of that is also his stand-up adapted. Like we see like him going to the doctor to get a marijuana prescription. Like that's again lifted from his stand-up directly. Like a lot of these moments, some of them work, some of them don't. I think it just depends.
I feel like that's a pilot.
Yeah,
like if you're given a pilot, you gotta. I mean, you probably got it based on a set. You just have to write that shit into the pilot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do we want to go to episode 2?
I mean, yeah, episode 2 of kind of continues the same theme.
The episode title, Miss Right.
Miss Right. I didn't know that. Good. I'm glad you're throwing in these nuggets so that you can all download them on LimeWire or wherever the fuck you download.
Again, or the first season's available legally on Amazon Prime, Apple. Go ahead. We definitely got them legally. So,
yeah. Oh, sure. I didn't mean that we illegally downloaded 9 seasons of the Drew Carey Show. I didn't actually. So
DJ did not.
I did not. Opening shot. Drew back in the fucking pool in his backyard. Dudes rock. I'm playing pool by myself in the backyard on a Saturday night.
They try to paint him as a loser so hard in this first scene. And then, we should explain. So they all come through and they all have their own grievances, the main 3. So you get Kate coming through, had a blind date that went bad. And then Drew's like, "How'd you know I'd be here?" It's Saturday night.
Yeah.
Lewis comes
Drew
through.
feeling a little self-conscious that he's alone on a Saturday night.
Absolutely. Well, I think he's feeling more self-conscious that
the more they bring it up.
Yeah. Lewis comes through. I can't even remember what he says. Again, same thing. Saturday night. Oswald borrows his goddamn car and then orders a pizza to his house. knowing that he will just be home on Saturday night. Amazing. They try to paint him as a loser for that, but then the next immediate scene is when we get introduced to the main sort of point of the episode, which is Drew hires a woman that is also attracted to him. My man's got rizz. My man has charisma out the ass. He plays like this loser, but like he's not. You know what I mean?
And when he's in the pocket, when he was in that interview, I mean, you've never seen a man with more game. He had an answer to all the little quips. Again, stand up. It clearly worked into the scene, but God, he's quick with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was the girl he was interviewing. She was loving every bit of it. Absolutely. She was quick. Who's that character?
Lisa is her name. She comes in for she calls it something more technical than it actually is, but she does window displays basically.
They had excellent on-screen chemistry.
Absolutely.
I don't know if she's around for a long time.
Yeah.
We obviously have to watch more of this.
I hope.
But
she's great.
They had I mean, the two of them, the back and forth was excellent.
Yeah. We also should just acknowledge Mimi. Mimi does not get the makeup job. Kate gets the makeup job. Mimi harasses Mr. Bell and threatens to go to, I guess, a labor relations board.
Yeah, something.
And then gets a personal assistant job out of it. So that's how we keep her in the staff. Not only is she going to continue harassing Drew, she's literally like the woman that he has to talk to get to talk to her.
And then it sets up the controversy that where she is now like, you are going to miss meetings and memos. I'm going to do everything I can to get you fired.
Yeah.
So a lot of nice tension now in the workspace. Not that Drew didn't have already enough tension.
Yeah.
But even like with this interaction with Mimi, quick with it. I mean, Drew, he's rizzed up.
Drew has the
Drew
rizz.
Carey is
we don't
rizzed
acknowledge
up.
It. It's here's my other thing, because he does get stressed out about work. And look, all jobs are hard. Do we really think it's that hard?
I don't know if all jobs
hire
are hard.
candidates? What jobs do you think aren't that?
I don't know if all jobs are hard. I think like what's an easy job? Probably like I don't know,
something you wouldn't do.
Balloons. Something in balloons is very easy.
Clowning. Clowning's got to be really fucking
extraordinarily
hard. Miming,
difficult.
you're stuck in a box all day. But no, he stresses out about his job so much. But how hard could it be to hire people to work at a mall? I feel like whenever I go to a mall,
it's a department store.
It's a department. What is the difference between a mall and a department store?
I
guess a department store is one store within a mall.
See, back before malls,
right?
I feel like everything was just done in a department store. Where a department store, you go, you get your clothes, you get your perfume, it's a one-stop shop for everything you need. That was before you introduced the mall, and then the malls, you put the department stores in, and everyone's whatever. Right. This was still in a time of malls, so I guess this is just like...
No, but you're right. I was thinking more it's a whole mall, but it's probably like a Boscov's. I don't know what would have been big in the 90s. Yeah, so Drew and Lisa hit it off. Drew hires her for the window display. She has, to be fair, she does have the portfolio. She's got the thing to back her up. She's good at this. Drew also does help her out a lot and just seems very enamored with her. She seems enamored with him. This is now the tension. Can a manager date his employee? The answer is no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that was a long pause. The answer is no. The answer is no. And that is Drew's issue.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Pretty, but... Here, well, I don't want to spoil the ending here, but for what it's worth, I'll just say they kind of go through the and they proceed, and by the end of the episode, like we said, the answer is no. It seems pretty obvious. They go out on a date in the middle, and we'll talk a little bit about this, but by the end, the answer is no, but they kind of leave it open-ended, right? Yeah. There was tension at the end where I'm like, are they really just going to are they going to just keep it quiet?
Are they gonna fuck?
Because that's really what the answer's no,
right? Unless
you keep it quiet, and then that's still the answer today.
It's
no,
true.
unless no, but out loud,
right? No. Period. Parentheses.
No.
Drew is enamored with her. There's a couple things I noticed. They have a conversation on the sales floor where she's dressing mannequins.
Oh, that's such a good part.
She asks Drew to get a bra to put on the mannequin, and he knows the different kinds of bras.
And she's impressed.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I feel like most people in the world will be like, ew, what the fuck why does this guy know so much about ladies' underwear? How long did he spend in the ladies' underwear section?
Is this a problem that he's here? Like that becomes a larger question of why does he know about lingerie like that?
But there was a great moment in that scene where well, the great part is with these mannequins, the one mannequin almost looks exactly like her.
Yeah.
And they have her, she asks him on the date and everything, and he's like, I don't think it's appropriate and anything. And she leans on the mannequin that looks exactly like her, and she's basically topless or in a bra. Not her, the mannequin right. is. And he's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Because again, Drew be horny. That's really all it is.
And so far, Drew be horny.
So they do have a date. They schedule it on the floor.
Guess where?
The Warsaw.
The only place in Cleveland. The only place
in Cleveland, Ohio, is the Warsaw. And it is a problem it's the only place in Warsaw, because who else is there but all of Drew's crew? And which, by the way, now that I said that out loud, I am going to continue to call them Drew's crew. Because that fucking, yeah. And then also...
Everyone in Cleveland,
including employees, including Mimi.
Yeah.
So Mimi's there. They're trying to keep it very professional, but Lisa confides that she likes him. And Drew... takes that as a green light. Well, I guess no, she kisses him, right?
Yeah, he's a little sheepish.
Yeah.
Sheepish. Then she kind of leans in. She gives him a smooch. And then, of course, Mimi's standing right behind him.
She's going to fuck his life up.
And she's like, oh, you remember Joe and Deborah from work? And then Drew, in a moment of brilliance... stands up and kisses the two, Joe and Deborah. So yeah,
French doll, mwah. It's very good. We didn't even talk about the neighbors yet for this episode.
The neighbors added a whole new perspective for me. Okay, so the next scene is Drew at home, and you just hear loud classic rock, or even a heavy rock.
And I believe he says it's midnight.
Yes, it is literally midnight. So he goes across the street in the neighbor's house. I mean, it introduced a whole new perspective of this white trash middle America that I'm like, this is the perfect addition to this. If you're doing a regional thing, you need these kinds of people.
I'm not close enough to it. This is a type of person that exists, right?
Yes.
You're in Ohio, and for some reason you've got a Confederate flag on your truck.
Undoubtedly. We didn't even get to that, but yeah.
No, but yeah.
So he goes over to the neighbor's house. There's a motorcycle in the front lawn. There's just a bunch of junk Christmas lights, just strung up that clearly hadn't been taken down. Drew pounding on the door to get them to stop. They can't hear through the music. The dog runs out, bites his ankle. Yeah. I mean, it's exactly all the tropes.
And then their daughter comes in, who we assume is around Drew's age. And they are trying really hard. I don't know if it's the family or if it's just her, but to try to get them together as a couple. And she's
Drew's a catch. And especially...
Drew's a catch.
Drew is a catch, but especially...
He's the Rizzler.
For this white trash family, Drew would just sweep them off their feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
They love Drew.
Yeah.
Drew came over banging on their door to get them to turn the music down. Actually, his line, whenever he did, he was like, can you hear everything okay? Because I'm only getting vibrations over there. And I was like, that's good. But I also wrote down something here in this scene. I think they established that Drew had bought his parents' house.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I think that seems also
very regional. Mm-hmm. But so anyway, there seems to be a long-standing relationship with these people. No bad blood. And then the guy, I forget the guy's name. The father of the family comes out, and he's like, "Oh, I got 10 stereos from a dude I know, CD players," and he's like, "I can install one in your car."
They kind of make it right. Is he goes, "Hey, Drew, do you want?" And then Drew decides, "Yeah, I want a stereo in my car because it'll increase the value.
Double the value of my car. Double the value is $100." I was like, "That's good."
So then Drew agrees to have this redneck man install a stereo into his car.
Yes.
We go then to the next day, and he's trying to carpool, and his car's gone.
Yeah.
Because the guy hasn't installed it yet because he was up all night with his bees.
He's He's like, yeah, and Drew's like, you got bees? And he's like, get your own.
Territorial over the bees.
Didn't even explain why this neighbor just has bees.
Yeah. I've had people like that. I had an uncle that kept chickens for a while in Northeast Philadelphia, and I do not understand why.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. Maybe he sold the eggs. I don't know. Weird. But yeah, he keeps bees.
So anyway, the solution is he's like, you can borrow my truck. So now Drew's driving his redneck white trash neighbor's truck with the carpool, which I thought he got kicked out of, but now we're back in the carpool.
Back in the carpool. Kate's
too
in the
funny,
carpool.
It's too funny not to have it. And there's like 8 people in a pickup truck. Kate's in the actual bed.
She's in the bed of the truck.
And there's a Confederate flag on the dashboard, and this black coworker reaches out the window and rips it down.
It's a very good moment. It's a very funny moment.
And then they double down on it.
Mm-hmm.
He's in traffic. He's sitting there. And then some guy cuts Drew off, and he lays on the horn. And, of course, it's Dixie. And then cut to the black coworker again. And I'm like, this is perfect.
Yep. Also, just wanted to acknowledge that car, swarm of bees inside of the car.
More bees.
More bees. I do love that the bees are now a runner with the rednecks. And they do come back at the end.
Even more generally, though, I think adding the neighbors, the white trash, it added a whole, like, it does now create this very, like, it's a very white sitcom. Now, granted, I feel like that's what people, like, their problem is with, say, Seinfeld for being in New York City, Friends, all of this stuff. But it fits Cleveland.
I was going to say, I think, whereas the other two are New York, and New York is a far more diverse area.
But Cleveland suburbs, I mean, I grew up in the Pittsburgh suburbs. That is, it's the same thing. Yeah.
I do like that we got one black coworker, though, that can stand up and be like, fuck the Confederacy. That is kind of fun.
That's good.
That's a good little
they gave
touch.
him a good, that's a very good.
So Drew gets to work, and it turns out that the date has now spread to the entire department store floor. Mr. Bell is aware, and they've got to call it off. Something's going to go wrong. Mr. Bell demands that he ends it. Drew doesn't want to end it, though. He calls Lisa in, and he pitches the craziest shit that I've ever heard. Drew is a true romantic in addition to a Rizzler, because he says, I will quit my job for you if we can be together forever. He's known this woman tops 72 hours.
Yeah, they went on one date. He got one smooch.
Yeah, he got one kiss.
I don't even think there was no tongue in that kiss.
No, not that I saw. It was like 20, not even 20 seconds. No,
20, no, it was like 2 seconds in front of Mimi, and now he's like, I'm going to marry this woman.
I'm ready. I'm completely ready. So
heartthrob.
Proposes to this woman, essentially, this plan. And Lisa just goes, you're crazy. You're absolutely insane. We're not going to do that. We're just going to break up. Which, like, that is the one L, I would say, that Drew Carey takes in this episode.
But he needed one.
He needs
he needs an... I feel like this is a sitcom. I don't know. I haven't watched anymore, really. I feel like it's going to end in so many Drew L's.
Yeah.
That's the whole bit.
Yeah.
I mean, even through... Again, if this is written after his stand-up, his whole stand-up is, woe is me. I'm the fat guy. I'm this and that.
Can't get
Not even that many fat jokes, because I will say he has a lot of fat jokes in his stand-up.
Yeah.
Not many here. She has a few good ones.
Lisa gets a couple good ones. I was going to go back to that. I was going to say, I do like where he goes, they're talking about him being nervous, and he goes, can't you tell?
Yeah, she's like, what do you do when you're nervous? Yeah. And he's like, isn't it obvious? And she's like, eat.
It's perfect.
So good.
Yeah. Lisa decides, call it off. We're both going to just stay employees, and we're not going to date. And that's kind of where we leave it at the end of this episode. She says she can't commit to a hair color for more than 1 month. She can't commit to a relationship longer than that.
Yeah. But like I said, it is like an open-ended... Now, I can't tell if I'm just reading too much into it, but it's like... It felt like maybe a wink to accompany it.
Sure, yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm like, this public, let's break up in the office.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
It's amicable.
Wink.
But it's also, there's like funny moments at the end. He screams about lopsided breasts in the middle of the office.
Yeah.
And then goes, did I just say that out loud? Like, there's, we're definitely hinting at something in the future. Did you have any lines you really liked in this?
The second one I didn't write down enough. I should have wrote down more.
I had one.
The bees was really funny.
So right before we get to the carpool scene, it's Kate talking with Drew, and she says she knows he's in love because he shaved his neck. I thought that was very funny.
That's
for some
funny.
reason. I shave my neck, and I don't think it's ever been for love.
No.
I think I'm just a hygiene freak. But good for Drew. Good for Drew.
I shave my neck pretty
Congratulations.
Pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been using the same razor. You're making me think now. I've been using the same razor. How often am I allowed to use a disposable razor on my neck?
Oh God.
Like how many times before I'm really, like I say, I'm only doing my neck. How many times uses do I get out of one of those Gillette razors before I got to throw it out?
I don't know. I feel like you could probably get away with 2 months, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah.
Because I'm at 4.
Yeah.
So
I have to do it more because I think I just grow more hair. But yeah.
Yeah. I know this is an audio experience, but
yeah, trust me, I'm covered.
Shane is covered in hair.
Big.
I'm hairless.
Mm-hmm. TJ's a newborn child. Yeah, that was all I had in terms of notes for this. I guess predictions going forward. Because I guess I ruined it at the top. It does take a more absurdist bent going forward. I feel like this first season
fascinating to me.
is going to be a little more straight. We're going to get, regular sort of, will they, won't they stuff. We're going to get Mimi being, insane. We're going to get Lewis saying weird shit.
More specific Cleveland.
Yeah. Will we see a baseball game?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
They will be going. I think this season they will be at a basketball game, a baseball game, or a football game. Mm-hmm. One of them. He's wearing too much sports shit not to do it. I think they're going to delve into more Cleveland. I feel like they gave him free reign to do, which I love. I mean, I don't like Cleveland, but that's pretty cool to have. Because I get so sick of just seeing all these. You have representation in Los Angeles and representation in New York and television. Frasier has Seattle. Maybe that's the only other random reference we can
Cheers
get.
is Boston. But again, it's all
True.
Coastal,
Yeah.
Where's Middle America?
This is Middle America. Drew Carey's Middle America.
Absolutely. And then I guess the larger question I had, and maybe this was better for the start, 233 episodes. 9 seasons, and like we said, nobody really talks about it. Nobody's watched it. It's not available to stream. I don't know why.
I wonder if it's. I hope it's not like a legal thing, and it's very boring. Some legal jargon that the ABC's just like controlling the rights to it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know why. No one's bringing it up. No one's talking about it. I do this thing. I Googled underrated sitcoms just to see if I could look at like some people's lists online
and see if Drew
if that's made it.
Yeah,
it's not on any of them.
Yeah, it's just it's been memory hold. It's just vanished. It's fascinating to me. I don't know. Maybe we're gonna find out over the course of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's
why nobody talks about it.
I can't wait for the last episode where he becomes the host of The Price is Right.
Right. Exactly. I can't wait. And then he just walks onto the set and it cuts to black.
Yeah.
That's gonna be it. Yeah. So those are the first 2 episodes of the Drew Carey Show.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of excited to watch. See, this is right up my. I feel like this is my favorite type of TV. Mm-hmm. I just love 20-minute dated sitcoms.
Yeah.
But
normal people, everyman. That's literally everything I saw when I was looking at this episode. Everyman, Drew Carey, and he really is the everyman.
They do a good job, but I mean, look, it's a boring job, it's a boring town, and he's got some weird friends, and he lives. He carpools like he's very like
carpools. Honestly, the amount of carpooling, maybe that's it's just boring.
I forgot people did that.
Yeah.
Until I watched this.
Yeah, it's a thing. Carpool lanes. That was the whole thing, wasn't it? That you would get like
there's still carpool
tax
lanes.
Incentive or a gas incentive or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They still have carpool lanes.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 or more people. Whatever the diamond lanes are on freeways.
Legend has it Drew Carey is still in the carpool lane.
He's still in the carpool lane.
Just driving it. He just wants to put on the radio and he keeps losing the fucking vote.
Yeah. Nobody wants to listen to music.
It's a rigged election that Drew Carey's having every time he wants to put on classic rock in the car. I guess that wraps this then. We're about 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
We did a good job.
All right. Mac Weldon. Oh, I forgot to do this.
Oh, yeah.
We forgot to do our Mac Weldon
Blue
read.
Apron.
Yeah.
This was, So, thank you for being here.
We're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, we're gonna keep doing this until somebody stops us.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna watch this TV show now.
Eddie,
anyway.
We're gonna watch it, Eddie. So we might as well just talk.
What's another 50 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good.
But thank you. Thank you all.
And Tune in soon. It's episode 2.